Hey everybody, it's Thursday.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. And thanks for being here with us this evening. So we have our guest that's coming on later tonight, Pat. We're just still hanging out waiting for him. And in the meantime, we're going to bring to you, I guess, kind of a wrap up to our ice season. I feel like it always sneaks up on me. And then we're going to be working into the transition into open water. And so where do we start with all that?
Yeah, well, so the transition is usually maple syrup season. So we haven't been fishing in a couple weeks because I have been boiling off gallons and gallons of water. It's a fun transition thing. It does create a little anxiety because you never know how the water, like the lakes and rivers, are going to be acting while you're boiling, and you can't really just stop boiling and then come back to it later when the fishing's bad. So yeah, that's kind of what we've been doing. We're just, other than that, watching water boil is not very exciting. So I kind of been, here and there taking stock in some of what we have for spring. We've been putting on some of that new fins line. We've been putting on some of that on our spring stuff. Just making sure we have stinger hooks ready. We have our boxes are cleaned out, that kind of stuff.
You just whiz through one of everything. That was the overview over the back of the book. So I think, when we're talking about the end of ice season, we first of all need to take care of some of, our ice stuff. And so the shacks, I feel like every year what we do is we redo how we store everything, how we keep everything. And, especially each time that we move, not that it's that often anymore, and hopefully maybe not again for a while, right? But each time we move, it is north. And so honestly, this past year is the first time that either of us ran into any kind of evidence of a mouse in our shack. And it was just little small, chew holes. So you had one all the way through, and I just have a few little spots on the inside. And, and so I think we are always looking for better ways to store all of this gear. So I know that in the past we've done the whole dryer sheet trick, and that actually goes pretty far. I think that goes a long way. One of the things that I have, well, this is a guess. I was going to say, one of the things I've found, this is not tested, this is my guess. I try, when we get dryer sheets, don't get something fruit flavored. Don't get apple pie, apple dryer sheets. If you're trying to keep critters out, that's going to be important. Use something that's kind of dare I say, the stinkiest, smelliest dryer sheet. It doesn't matter if it's name brand, off brand, whatever, but something that is strong and not scented at all like food in any way. So that's something that we do. And I don't know, people always do, they have pulley systems, they suspend it from the ceiling, all this stuff. We haven't done that yet. So if you have an easy way, if you have experience, if you love that method, or if you hate it, hit us up because I'm interested in hearing about that. But shacks aside, all of the other gear, we get to decide if we're going to use it again, and so fishing rods, I guess that too, we have to put that away. But a whole bunch of our tackle and stuff, we actually sort through because a whole bunch of it does get used then in the open water season.
Yeah, we keep all of our tungsten jigs at hand during the open water season, so all that has to transition back into the top shelves.
Speaking, and when you say top shelf, say more.
The tackle boxes, right? The Lakewood.
Well, I know what that is, but tell them that, right?
Well, it's a tackle box. What you explain it to us, because to me, a tackle box holds tackle. So why do we have to explain?
Well, just because not everyone knows the term top shelf.
Well,
right?
That's what it's
and
called.
So the Lakewood, right? It is a tackle box, the top shelf. So okay, now we got to keep going.
So we move our things over to the tackle box, which is the Lakewood Magnum top shelf. Which, by the way, they have a new system out this year, which I think I might have to sell off my old one and get the new one. We'll see how that goes. But we just moving stuff like jigs, I have some of the leader material that I use both seasons. Just little things like that, and just making sure that as soon as the open water is ready for me, I'm ready for the open water.
Well, and that's only kind of true because in some cases the open water is ready and we have not hit it yet, right? But you've taken this time and done a whole bunch of maintenance on the boat as well.
Yeah, I've been working on the boat. We did a little bit of a upgrade to the Minn Kota, the trolling motor. So we had a 2016 model, which is the last year that they made the Gen 1 spot lock. And if you've listened to this show or if you've watched this show, you've heard us talk about that and how the Gen 1 is just an awful thing. And so we were finally able to find a solution. They make new head units, so I brought it up to Northland Marine in 3 Lakes, and they hooked me up. Got it done. I think it was like $700 or something.
I just got a text message from Pat Calmerton, and he's working on his internet reception. So if you're waiting on Pat, that's okay. Hang tight.
So we got that done. I was able to fairly easily run the iConnect cord, fish it back through, because I was able to connect the old cord to the new cord and just kind of pull it through. I think the most tedious part was just making sure everything kept clean with zip ties and stuff. But other than that, I think that's ready to go. And just little things like, end of the season, you put the boat away. I don't know about you all, but I don't necessarily go through and vacuum it or do any of that stuff before I put it away. I just make sure that all the stuff is out. I get the dryer sheets in there and make sure everything is plugged in, tuck it away for the season. Springtime is the time where I make sure everything's clean, clean the carpets up, just vacuum everything, and make sure it's going to be a nice, easy outing, the first outing, hopefully.
It never is. One of the reasons that I joke that is because when I think of an easy outing, it's going to one of our local lakes, doesn't have a huge amount of traffic. You can just launch the boat out, maybe fish some bobbers, have some fun, catch some panfish or whatever. But that's never what happens because, one of the things about fishing is we always say fish where the fish are. Fish the season of the fish. I mean, does that make sense? And so, as these water temperatures change, we can go out, we can find panfish, depending on, I guess some of our launches might still be iced up, right? Mm-hmm. But the rivers always open up first. And so, we think of around the Green Bay area, there's people who even will chip out ice to get out there. And I don't know if I'm one of those first people, right? But as soon as we can, we do take that boat and we head out on the river. And the thing is, that's what everybody kind of has in mind. And it's always a really busy season. So when we talk about it being an easy first outing, that sometimes isn't always the case because the launches are full, the parking lots are full. You have to make sure that your motor is all ready to go. Just all these different things. You just have to make sure that everything is good to go.
Yeah. It's a fun challenge though, right? Everybody's excited. Everybody else has the same issues that you're having. It's a good time to practice your patience. A short little PSA about loading and unloading your boat, mostly loading your boat. Make sure that you drain all the water off into the water and try not to drain it up on the landing too much. Just
early season.
Well, yeah, this time of year. That's what we're talking about is going out. Because we don't want the ramps to ice up too much. And so, if you can drain your boat down near close to the water and then pull your boat, that's always a good practice this early season.
That is for sure. I don't know. That's all I got for that. Yeah. So, I guess once we're in the water, once we're fishing, the thing about the river is, sometimes you're watching people around, sometimes people are catching fish, sometimes people are not, right? But I think one of the keys to this time of the year is either having truly a confidence bait that you're willing to stick with all day, or the flexibility to just change around. And I know that's two very opposite pieces of, I don't know, advice, but I feel like that's how we are in the boat. I think a lot of times Josh will get in and you will have like a bait that you were using that day and you were using it. And then I feel like sometimes there's me and I'm like, switch and switch and switch and switch. And so it's funny to see which of us, or sometimes it's both of us, catch fish.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you're watching, Jack. You know, Jack has a great show on Fridays. You should go check out his stuff. I believe it's on the YouTube. So I can't, Jack, put up your show in the comments so people can come see you tomorrow. So yeah, I think this time of year is a really good chance for everyone to just kind of stretch their legs out on the water, get into the swing of things again. For us, at least myself, I really like this time of year. We're fortunate to live around Green Bay, so we can go fish some walleyes, and we don't do that very often. That's not something that we prefer to target. This time of year, it's generally easy to target these fish, and it's just a good way to get back into some of the motions with the long rods and tying the knots and using the bigger baits and just kind of getting back in those motions, getting ready for that midsummer panfish bite that I love.
Well, and this is also a fabulous time of the year. I would dare I even say, invest in a guide. So, whether that's, Pat Calmerton that we might talk to tonight, or one of these other guides, you mentioned Green Bay. There's so many different guides around. And one of the reasons that I say that is, we're talking about the launches being busy and the rivers being busy and having to, decide on baits and all this stuff. And I think a lot of times people feel the pressure, especially in spring, that like trophy fish are around. Everyone has to go out and catch like a giant and whatever. And so I'm not saying that a guide can guarantee that, but what a guide can do is pave that pathway a little bit smoother for launching, for being on that busy river system, or for learning a new technique or finding that confidence bait, right? Because when people go out there and they see other people catching fish and they're not, that adds really a lot of stress to the day. Right. And so I think a lot of times, well, when we're out, I think a lot of times we run into even guides, and it is funny to see, how people are fishing different and the different techniques and I guess what is working. So if you're one of those people who is still like exploring and trying to get out there and learn new techniques or learn new species, this is a great time to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's a good time. There's a lot of boats out on the water, and as long as you can practice good boat etiquette, meaning keeping a generally good distance away from people, not trying to get in the way of people. I think it's a great time to be able to look at what other people are using and how other people are fishing, because you're in such close proximity. And I do that like almost the whole time I'm out there. I'm fishing, but I'm also observing what all the other anglers are doing, and not, you don't want to like follow somebody around. If you see them catching fish, you don't necessarily need to go follow them around, right? But I think the bigger piece to that puzzle is what they're using, especially in some of the river type situations, because it's a river. Fish are swimming in between the banks. It's not a lake where you have all these different kinds of structures necessarily. So just pay attention to what people are using out on the bay. Same thing. Like, people are using different stuff out there, and if you're if there's a group, try to fish a little bit away from the group. I've heard that's a really good way to kind of up your chances. But just keep in mind, if somebody's being successful, just try and see, be courteous, but try and see what they're using, and maybe that'll help you
out. I'm laughing, I guess, about a few things you're talking about. I don't know. I think you mentioned something about there isn't structure of the river, whatever. I'm like, you haven't seen Ed the Diver. Sometimes he pulls up those giant limbs and then there's like all these millions of lures attached. And so good for him for getting that out there. We really all appreciate a cleaner waterway, but I'm just laughing about it. I have seen that. The other thing that I'm laughing about is you are talking kind of earlier on what you said about, close proximity and all of this stuff. And we were actually just talking before the show. Now I feel bad I didn't show you this video because I know that you have not seen it, but this is kind of something that people in the social media world are talking about right now. But there is a guy down in Florida who just, I would say, tarnished his reputation based on the choices that he made yelling at somebody in another boat, and even jumped in their boat. So if you have not seen the video, it's around in a million places. I'm sure that you'll see it. I'm sure that you've seen the references. It's on all the fishing pages. But, when we're talking about getting out in early spring and all these boats are piled on top of each other. I mean, and you were mentioning, being courteous, it's just so timely for this video because you see this guy yelling. And just at the very end of the day, I saw a screenshot. Somebody looked up his guide service and it says permanently closed already on Google. And so it's like this video, I think, surfaced this morning or yesterday late. It was not that long, right? But it's just amazing. It's amazing, in the fishing world, you don't hear enough of these really good stories. Somebody who took somebody out on the boat, taught them, spent the day, helped them, catch fish, all these heartwarming stories. And all it takes is one, I guess, bad moment. And this person is like Facebook famous.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not worth getting in a fight over. They're just fish, and there's plenty of fish other way. For me, it's a lot of just mumbling under my breath and moving somewhere else because I'm confident in our abilities, Emily and I, to be able to find fish in most places. So you just got to move, even if you're catching fish. If somebody's being a dink, just go find somewhere else and be successful without them. Yeah. So, okay. So we're kind of all over the place because we're kind of waiting for Pat. So I guess what I wanted to talk about with this show, I think goes back to kind of Lakewood Products, and just kind of what springtime means for me for some of the Lakewood products. And so I know Pat, I'm going to use Pat as an example because Pat does more than just fish. He's a co-owner and a captain at the Wolfpack Guide Service. But he also does a lot of other spring activities. And so he also turkey hunts. And so Lakewood is a really great place to find your gun cases. So springtime, not just thinking tackle boxes and lure storage, but also firearm storage. It's a really good time to kind of take stock in what you need to be successful outdoors. And I think Lakewood has a lot of that covered. If Pat gets on here, he can probably talk more to some of the firearm things. I do have a rifle case, but that's probably my extent and a bow case, but that's probably my extent of my knowledge on that. But the tackle cases, I guess maybe we'll just do like a question back and forth. Okay, so let's start. We were talking about the Magnum top shelf earlier. So Emily, what's your favorite part about the Magnum top shelf? And maybe I can pull up the website and we can kind of look at it.
I feel like it's a trick question. I mean, it is just like the top shelf, the aspect of having just that shelf in the top where you can just like keep all of your things. I mean, at the risk of a bad answer, but that is absolutely the truth. I'm not sure if I know of other tackle solutions that offer that. And so I'm seeing it pull up on our other screen. I'm giving it a minute so everyone else can join in as well. Oh, it's coming.
All right. So we're going to go to my favorite spring box, the Magnum top shelf. Maybe we can do that. Is that better?
Can we zoom?
Not really. Okay, so Magnum top shelf. Hey, there's Pat.
That's funny.
So what Emily's talking about, let's see if they have a good picture of it. Here you go, up here. So this part is like a shelf, like it's a box and it comes with foam and that's slotted, so you can put your jigs like it, or spoons like this shows here.
Or you take it out.
We
and
both
you just
take
dump
it out,
to the
and
side and you
it's
get
like,
rid of that or whatever.
no, you keep
You
it.
store it on the shelf. You think maybe I'll use this one day. Never will.
But the top, I love the top for storing line, the line cutters, weights, swivels, all that stuff that you
The
have to.
hemostats.
Yep, all that
Yeah.
stuff you have to either use a lot or
access quickly.
Yeah, access quickly. And, or a lot of the small stuff too.
Or even things like, in summer, because now we're talking about, open water and everything. So right now we're in that transition. It's cold. I'm still wearing bibs on my boat. But the thing is, it's not going to be like that for long, and it's going to get hot really fast. And, your phone, you leave it on the deck of your boat and it starts to get so hot. And so even just being able to shove that in there, your car keys, whatever that is a great spot for like your most important stuff.
So this is probably so going back to my question to you, my favorite part about the Magnum Top Shelf is the vertical or the horizontal orientation of the boxes. It comes out like a drawer. Everyone knows why storing your 3,700 or whatever tackle box, tackle container,
like those clear boxes. I don't know.
Yep.
They can see them in the picture. Everyone has those.
Everyone knows how much of a pain in the butt that is to store on end, because all of your hooks slide under the little separators, and then everything gets tangled up, and it's a pain in the butt. And so this horizontal storage is awesome because that never happens. It's easy to remember which drawer your stuff is in. I just feel like they have enough room in there for the 3,700 box that you don't end up like flipping it around too much. You can just slide it in, slide it out. That's one of my favorite parts. So I talked earlier about how this Magnum Top Shelf is redesigned. And so you can see here, this is pretty much what my box looks like. Has the two big pouches on the side, has the clear boxes in the middle. He has this guy has all of his stuff on the top as well. But their new design this year is they designed it kind of like a Molly system. And so what they've done is they've put the straps on the back and on the sides. So it gives you a little bit of versatility. You can purchase the saddlebags, if you will. There's a bunch of different options.
But it comes with the drawers, which is the super big difference.
It can come with the drawers. That's like, it doesn't come with them like off the bat. You can purchase them and to put in there. And so like they have like a one that's for spoons. They have one that's for like walleye spinner rigs, or like 3-way rigs would be a great way to wrap and store on there. That's a Wolf River thing. Or you can just put your 3,700 boxes in there. They have the side pouches, and I know they have like a mesh pouch. They have the regular full pouch. They have a couple other things that fit on the side, and so they've made it super customizable more than it already was. And so that's one thing I really like about this, and that honestly what makes it a great open water box. That, and it doubles as an extra seat in the boat if you really need it to.
We have Jack in the comments that's talking about kayaks. And the thing about a lot of these Lakewood products is when you zip these closed, many of them float. And so, a lot of these kayak fishermen, I don't know, hopefully nothing ever happens with your boat, right? But it's the other reason I like taking this ice season, hopefully hopefully they wouldn't go through there either. Hopefully, I don't know. But it is really great, especially for that kayak. And which one is it that, scroll up? The Sidekick. is a lot of people are using that in the kayak because that's a really great one that you can stand on. Oh yeah, I think that's Nicole.
Yeah, that's Nicole.
With her kayak. And so if you zip that closed, first of all the contents will float. If it is open, I mean, not quite the same effect, obviously, right? But if you have it closed, then you can use that as a casting deck. And so I know kayaks these days just continue to get more and more steady. And so back in the day, it was like nobody stood in a kayak, but these days, this might be a really nice casting deck if that's the kind of thing that you're doing.
Well, and the thing I like about the Sidekick, which this is what we bring walleye fishing with us, right? And it's because you can have your crankbaits, you can have what little terminal tackle that we need to fish where we're fishing. You can hang a few more baits. This has spinner baits in there, but we have some other stuff, but you can do whatever you want. It's really nice. It's like a perfect size just for like, if you just are fishing species specific, you need to go in your buddy's boat. It's a great size for that. Like Emily said, you can stand on it. So it provides like a little bit of elevated platform. Scotty here is saying the mini Sidekick is best for hopping between boats and stuff. So we can take a look at that quick. Let's see.
Oh,
did I pass it?
Up a little bit, I think.
Where?
Oh no, that's the mini mag.
Yeah.
No.
There we go. Let's see. Full details.
That is actually, look at that. That is a great size.
Yeah, so I believe they have it in a boat. So look at that. So that's just in the back corner of an Alumacraft. And yeah, that would be a great little size to hop in between boats. There's a good view of the layout in there. So you can have a couple 3600 boxes in there. You can have some crankbaits, whatever kind of stuff you want. The hemostats and stuff fit in the front. So yeah.
This is also really great. And let's say that that you're traveling. And so, there's a ton of people, they go up to Canada, let's say ice season in spring, all this. And so if let's say that you're going on a walleye trip, this is going to be a great, great size to be able to pack all of your things in and have it be portable. Or even if you're flying, these are great. All the Lakewood cases are TSA approved and lockable. And so this is a really great option for that.
Yeah. All right.
I wish we were traveling. We're just staying in the boat. It travels in my boat really well.
So kind of to keep with the theme of, our springtime adventures. I think one of my second favorite springtime thing is these lure wallets. I think they're really underplayed in a lot of, just general fishing, but they're just super versatile. This shows a bunch of ice fishing spoons, but I have one just loaded up with stinger hooks, and that way they don't get tangled up because they're folded flat. I can label the outside of it. It has a nice little, let's see, right here, this little label pocket. I can just put stinger hooks on it. I keep all my walleye hair jigs in here, all the stuff that I tie. I keep some blade baits in one. It keeps all the treble hooks from getting snagged up. This center piece right here, that's removable. So if you do wear one out, you can get another one. I just think for the price, it's just a great little tool that you can just stuff in the side of your tackle box. You don't have to worry about anything getting snagged up. You can leave it sit out on the deck as long as it's closed, and you don't have to worry about getting hooks and fingers and stuff like that. With my big hair jigs, I don't know if that floats, but I definitely know that the one with my stinger hooks floats if it accidentally goes overboard. So, it's just a great little tool. I really like the small size and the medium size. But they also have a large, if you look at here, it's kind of like a notebook size, but I like that medium and small. I think they're really great, great additions to just keeping all of your little stuff contained and easily accessible and organized, especially when, in the springtime when you're not in the swing of things yet. This helps with that. Oh man, so many good things. So there's also the mini Magnum top shelf. So it's basically just a smaller version. If you can see that kind of there, here's a good, so that would be another good shore box. We actually use these for ice fishing, so we take all of our stuff out of the pockets that we need for open water and move it to the bigger box, because the bigger box just lives in the boat. It doesn't really come in or out, it just stays in the boat.
The nice thing is, though, if you are panfish anglers like us, or if you like big toothy critters, muskie, pike, there is something here for you, a storage solution for you. And like you were talking about with all these things, there's different sizes, to be honest. And so look for what fits you with those lure wallets, the small, the medium, the large, find what works for you, because there is, even right down to plastic, so many different options for storage and I guess organization. The other nice thing is that these all have lifetime warranty. And so if something happens to it, get a hold of them. And Sarah's going to be able to help you right away.
Sorry, I'm just trying.
Yeah, I was wondering what you were looking for. I'm like, you're scrolling all over the place, and it's like, I'm just shopping now.
So Scotty brought up a good point. So the billfolds are another great addition that Lakewood brought on a couple years ago. It's a great plastic storage option. I have 4 of these in the longer size. And I actually keep them, what is that, a treasure chest? I don't know. I keep them in the mesh bag. Oh. And so, but they're awesome. So you can keep everything organized. I love that it's mesh, so it doesn't hold water. And I can see what's inside of it before I even open it. And so it's a way nicer option, at least for me, to be able to have all my plastics at hand, and not have to put them in the 3700 boxes, which some plastic oils melt the plastic boxes. Maybe not so much anymore, but they used to. But here you can label the sizes or what you have in them. They're super, super great. Just love those things. So I don't know what else to say about a plastic storage compartment, but if I was thinking up what I would like from one, this has all of it.
I mean, the only other thing to say, and this is a perfect example of it, it's really hard to see, especially if you're watching from your phone and your screen is so small. But these are not just one giant compartment inside. It is separated. They're just little separator walls right in between. And so, for example, I have one that I use for all my minnow baits, and then it's separated by size. And so I know when I grab that bag, that is all my minnow plastics, and then I can quickly go to the size and then the color that I'm looking for.
That kind of shows you here, there's little
separators
in there. So that is really nice. You can, did you say it separating by color?
People can do whatever they want. I usually do by profile or by size. Mm-hmm. I have one that's all bugs, all my bug plastics, and so then again by size, and then I go by color in there. And so that's just something that you can do if you want.
But I would just if you're looking kind of for something to kind of up your game a little bit for this next open water season, or maybe even into ice season, go check Lakewood Products out. They have a lot of good stuff there. They are pretty responsive with their customer service, so you can ask questions. And they really do have a bunch of stuff for pretty much any angler. Whatever you would want in a storage solution, they have it.
That is true.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Well, what else?
I don't know. I don't. I guess our buddy Pat wasn't able
He
to.
was working on his internet connection, so who knows? I know across the state there's been some really, really huge storms, so I actually don't know where he's tuning in from right now.
Mm,
Even us, actually, we were out of power for quite a few days, and I imagine that doesn't actually affect the fish as much as it does, as much as it does us. So, I know as far as the weather that we were getting in our area, so we started this episode talking about fishing the rivers. Some of these rivers, the water temperatures are not rising quite as quickly as you'd expect because we are getting some really cloudy days. We are getting some, snow pushing through, right? And so it's still freezing precipitation pushing through the systems. But I know, especially in the next few days, there is even more warm up to come. So I know watching the Wolf River Cam, that's always a really great resource this time of the year. You can see especially if you're fishing the Wolf River, what are water clarity conditions? How fast is the water moving? Sometimes you can get a little hint of that from the camera. You can maybe judge what kind of jigs that you're going to be bringing. But all of this different stuff is, I think, going to really start heating up in the next few weeks. And then after that, it's going to just be full blown open water season. And so we are so excited for that because there's so much more fishing talk to come.
mhm.
But I guess other than that, with rivers, we're going to keep bringing you updates as we get out there. But I think we are going to still be planning our first open water trip. Is it going to be this weekend? I don't even know. It might not be. I
Well,
don't even know how our weather is going to be.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
So if you are on the water or if you are still on ice, let us know because we always ask for a fishing report in the beginning. But even though it's the end of the show, I'm still interested in that. This is that time of the year where there's big transitions going on and fish are moving different places. So if you have a hot bait or a technique or whatever, drop that in the comments because I know I always go back and read those.
Mhm.
And sometimes then the weekend comes and I try it out because that's the thing about this is that the trends, fish follow those trends. The water temperatures, what's working in one place oftentimes works in another. And so that's why we're here. Share those ideas, share those thoughts, share those techniques. I guess you can keep your secrets, but maybe PM me. Kidding. But other than that, I guess.
Yeah, unless anybody has any more riveting questions, or burning questions for us, I don't really have much more planned than that.
That's
So
all right. There's going to be a lot more episodes to come this open water season. This is barely the beginning. Dare I say it's just the transition too. And like I said, we're still finishing cleaning up our ice season and moving on. So if there's any more tips and stuff, we'll bring that to you on our Facebook page, on social media, all that good stuff. Otherwise, I guess with that, we hope to see everyone out on the water.
have a good night, everybody.